driving on a highway, you see a whole bunch of fast-moving cars, you can visually see that danger on the roadway that could occur if you drive recklessly. This invisible disease, no one can see, and so they cannot see the danger that could be oncoming to them. And as a result, it's easy for people to let down their guard. I'll give you an easy example that leads to a big spreading event, and that is if people go into a group of strangers, they perceive there may be a greater danger out there because they don't know those strangers. They don't know if they do or do not have COVID-19. However, when people gather with family and friends, they let down their guard thinking, well, this is family and friends. I'm not going to get it from my family and friends. And it's turned out to be the case across Texas that people do get it frequently from family and friends. And so it's just one of those things where for a little while longer, as we continue to bring forward in greater volume additional drugs and medications and vaccines, as we begin to cure people and prevent people from getting COVID-19, it's important, as these doctors have made clear, that people continue to use the best safe practices so they can prevent themselves from exposing themselves to COVID-19. Yes? Thank you.
So there are many rural hospitals having a tough time being overwhelmed with COVID patients. We reported some hospitals here in West Texas trying to transfer patients to bigger hospitals and those patients being denied. Is there any solution or recommendation for smaller hospitals that can't handle the amount of cases that they're getting?
So one of the best, there are several things about this, but one of the coming solutions is this antibody therapeutic drug. The goal of this drug is to keep people out of hospitals. And this drug is being provided to the rural hospitals as well as to the urban hospitals. And so this will be an aid that should lead to a reduction of people being hospitalized. Separate from that, we do have, whether it be through Chief Kidd or Department of State Health Services, these strategies to make sure that we will be able to go to the local rural setting and assist those there. And then the third alternative is exactly what you mentioned. We want to make sure that there is hospital capacity in the more urban type setting so that if a person in a rural setting does need a transfer to the urban setting, they will have the ability to do so. Yes, sir.
How do you ideally see the distribution of this treatment within communities that have hospitals that are stretched absolutely thin right now without overloading the staff with another process?
So in the way that we talked about it internally and the way that the meeting before we came out here and what we're seeing in a location like El Paso. So in El Paso, there's an alternative care facility that's been set up, which has about 100 hospital beds, and where staffing from the outside is being provided for that, for the purpose of administering this therapeutic drug. The same thing applies here in Lubbock with regard to these auxiliary mobile units they have their own beds, their staffing of those beds for the purpose of administering this therapeutic antibody drug. And so typically a good setting for it would be that independent type setting. Similarly, you'll have a nursing home type setting where you already have the room, you already have the bed, you already have all of the equipment needed for the administration of the drug, except for the drug itself, which can be provided to them. As Dr. Hellerstedt was making reference to it, it would be a better strategy to make sure that you do have a qualified medical staffing personnel at a nursing home to be able to both administer the drug, but also to respond in case there is an adverse response to that drug. Yes, sir.
Andrew with Fox 34. The large indoor gatherings being, what can you address those, especially like luncheons, dinners, high school basketball games coming up?
Yeah, and so listen, this is a typical example of what we see about how communities self-regulate and self-respond to an increase in COVID-19. I've seen stories across the entire state of Texas about college football games being canceled this weekend because of COVID challenges. I've seen stories across the state of Texas about high school football games being canceled week after week after week. I've seen stories about schools closing and returning to remote learning. And so it just depends on the type of setting where we are seeing a reduction of indoor and or outdoor activities because of that self-regulation and the decision-making at the local level about ways to curtail activities to slow the spread of COVID or not to expose people to COVID. Yes?
I'm going to ask a quick follow-up. Can you give an example of a city or county that is enforcing statewide mandates well without adding extras?
That is enforcing it?
Yes.
I mean, I see more examples of people and leaders in communities that are stepping up and encouraging people and getting compliance. I haven't seen a whole lot of, quote, enforcement. Most enforcement that we see is done by TABC. I will tell you that we have worked closely with the mayor of Lubbock, with Mayor Pope, and he's been a good partner with the state of Texas, and we are partnering with him right now to make sure that everyone understands what the rules are, understands the compliance that's required, and understand what the consequences will be for failure to comply. Yes?
Just a quick follow-up, of course. This is great news. This drug, as we go into the holidays, what else? Give us some more good news about fighting this virus that we need to know as we prepare to go into the holidays into the next year.
So as we're going to the holidays and Thanksgiving, and people, again, need just to be personally responsible to make sure that they do not put themselves into a situation in which they can either get COVID or expose others to COVID. But they should know that, listen, the cavalry is coming as it concerns COVID-19. There has been no meaningful medical defense or response to COVID-19 for the purpose of treating COVID-19 until the announcement of this drug that was created. People need to understand how consequential this is. I think this is the fastest that medications have been developed on mass scale to treat an infectious disease like this. Typically, it would take years to achieve what's been done in just over a half a year. So we have the Eli Lilly therapeutic drug that we're distributing in Lubbock today, soon to come the Regeneron antibody therapeutic drug, and then soon to come after that in December before Christmas time would be these immunizations, the vaccines that will be coming that will begin to prevent people from getting COVID-19. So as we go into the holidays, I think people need to be thankful for the way that the genius of the medical leaders in this country and the medical innovators in this country have been able to so quickly respond with the medicines that are needed to make sure that soon we will be able to put COVID behind us.
2 more questions.
Got 3 hands up. One who hasn't asked a question, we'll go with him.
Thank you, Governor. I was wondering if there's an estimate of how quickly we would see some relief in our hospitalizations once the antibody therapies are administered.
So it'll take several days before you see the relief, because it'll take several days to get it fully implemented, several days to get a large number of people who have received these antibodies. And then you will see that some of those people who took those antibodies, they will not need to be going into a hospital who otherwise may have needed to go into a hospital had they not received it. And so here's what it should mean, and that is the future number of people going to hospitals should be on the decline going forward with the receipt of this drug.
Last question.
You've had a couple. She had one, I think. We'll give it to her.
All right. Thank you, Governor. Well, in El Paso, there have been around 10 businesses that have filed a lawsuit against the county judge that had an order to close businesses. At the state level, can you talk about local level enforcement of business closures, especially as COVID cases are spiking in places like El Paso?
Sure. So one thing that we've learned as we've worked our way through the response to COVID-19, and that is we don't have to have an either-or situation. Either businesses are open or businesses are closed. We don't have to choose between protecting people's lives or ending people's livelihoods. We can have both. And so we've learned that there are safe ways and safe practices that businesses can operate. Part of those safe ways and practices are contained in the protocols that exist, and that's exactly why local officials need to enforce those protocols, because if those protocols are followed, it will ensure that those businesses will be able to remain open, knowing that the spread of COVID-19 will be contained as much as possible. Thank you all very much.
Good job.
That was Governor Abbott's update on the state's response to COVID-19. The Eli Lilly antibody treatment is now available in Lubbock. It will also go to Amarillo, Midland, and El Paso. It's only for certain patients, mostly 65 and older, with pre-existing conditions who are more likely to suffer severe symptoms and end up in the hospital. More doses will be sent out each week. Governor Abbott said unequivocally there will be no shutdown in Texas. He urges cities and counties to better enforce the restrictions that are already in place. We'll have more details on the antibody treatment and the state's response tonight on the news at 9. We'll take you back now to regular programming. I'm Rachel Reagan. Have a great afternoon.
This has been a Fox 34 News special report.